Tide Boyz, a swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris, and this is episode 101 of the show. You can let that sit there. Just a little bit. Just triple digits, everybody. We have a very special episode for everyone this week, which is also very self-serving for our own purposes, but we are going to cover how to qualify for ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Championship. We're going to run through all the different ways to do that. And essentially, if anyone's even thinking about it, you can just listen to this and really understand how that works, because it isn't as easy as, I guess it is as easy as winning a race. But
yes,
if you're not in that, in that bucket like we are, then there's other beads.
There's multi avenues to get there. So, if you're looking at signing up or qualifying for the ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Championship, this is going to be how you do it here.
Yeah, there's basically 5 ways to qualify. So we're going to run through them all pretty quickly and then spend most of the time on some of the complicated points. But the first way is, obviously, as we just mentioned, you can podium at an ÖTILLÖ World Series distance race. So that's pretty explanatory. Mm-hmm. There's essentially 9 slots at each ÖTILLÖ event, 3 for each category.
Why am I talking over you? I don't know.
Okay.
Then, in addition to those 9 podium slots at ÖTILLÖ World Series distance races, there is what's called the direct qualification. Now, this is 9 spots per event. Think of it, the way that Chris and I have thought about it is it's kind of like a roll down situation, but it's not as cut and dry as equally dispersed between categories. It is determined on how many racers there are per class.
Right.
So if there is 10 male teams and 10 female teams and 5 mixed teams, the male and female will get more than the mixed, obviously, because there's more racers. Exactly. And I guess typically the way it breaks down, it's, the example that ÖTILLÖ gives is there'll be, 4 men's teams, 3 mixed, and 2 women's, because that seems to be the usual breakdown in terms of registration. The next way to qualify, it's called the 724 concept. This was started in 2017, and essentially it's a guaranteed way to get a spot at the World Championship. Kind of reminds me of New York City Roadrunners. If you do all of their road races leading up to the New York City Marathon, you get to do that. But essentially, you and your teammate will have to race 5 World Series races and 2 merit races in 24 months. It can be any of them. It can also be the same race 2 times, but all you have to do is finish, and then you apply, and you get a guaranteed spot. Incidentally, this would also put you super high. This would also put you super high in the rankings, so you'd probably be okay on that. But if you're really trying to guarantee it and you just want to do a tour of Europe and or America, then this is your route. Actually, I learned about this from reading a couple articles, and I don't know anyone who's actually qualified. I haven't heard of anyone qualifying this way, but I think you brought up the good point that if you're doing a total of 7 races in 2 years, you're probably going to amass enough points to potentially get one of those direct qualifications, or potentially even number 4 way to get into ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Series, the race director's choice. So this is 10 spots that are at the race director's discretion. So Mats and Michael look at all the entries into this, and they dole out the 10 spots whoever they want for whatever reason they want. How we have kind of seen this go in the past, or what we've seen, is it's usually given through potentially sponsors or some media and or special circumstances. In 2018, you may have remembered Rich Roll and Chris Hoth did ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Championship, that our good friend Adam Skolnick wrote about in the New York Times. That was a director's choice slot that they got to race that event. So
super smart on ÖTILLÖ's part as well.
It is very smart.
Yielded some New York Times coverage, so they know what they're doing. So that's that. You apply for that. You can apply for a race director's slot. The most common way, if you're not super elite, is through the Swimrun ranking points, and we'll spend most of the time on this one for a couple of reasons. This is the method that affects us, first of all. And second, this is just where most people are going to be at. So first thing you need to do is you got to go to swimrunranking.com and make sure you've registered your team with ÖTILLÖ and that you're submitting points, or you're submitting your finishes time to accumulate points. There are 78 spots that are assigned through this method, and the spots are
distributed evenly between the classes depending on the amount of people that apply. So if you apply in more than one category because you're just a badass and you're doing a bunch of races in different categories, then they'll select a team with the highest ranking in the respective category. Reserve lists will be made per class and based on ranking. That way, if you didn't make the initial cut, like, you still have an opportunity to get in case someone drops out. The application to qualify for the Swimrun World Championship, ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Championship, opens on December 14th, and essentially the presentation to teams is the first Thursday of February. So it's a busy winter for them to figure everything out. And like I said, we're going to talk more about the ranking system, but it's really important to note that for race directors and ranking slots entries, it's done basically according to the amount of applications per category. So, for example, if more women were applied than in years past, they would essentially have more spots assigned to them in their category. Mm-hmm. So if this year there was only 20 slots assigned to women, 20% more women apply, maybe that jumps up to 30 or something like that. So we got that from Wild Swim Run. They have a great article on their website explaining how this works. But I think with that, Chipper, let's hear it.
So how does the race ranking system work? So this ranking system is swimrunranking.com, and this is totally separate from the login that you're using to register for ÖTILLÖ races or anything like that. So swimrunranking.com, and all this is going to be in our show notes. It is a little bit complex if you hear it for the first time, but once you kind of look at it, it might be easier, and they do all the math for you on the back end, so you don't have to get your abacus out, figuring out what's 60% of this number and how many points. Yeah. So we're going to roll through that right now.
Actually like, before we get into it, I like the system. Yeah, it's complicated and there's a lot of math involved, but I think it's fair.
It is a very fair and just system that they have here that ÖTILLÖ has put together. So the points are distributed based on the following criteria. So the system is built on an inverse property. 40% of the points are based on your overall results in the race, no matter which class you're in. 60% of the points are based on your time in relationship to the average of all finishing times. So that means teams finishing very close together get a very similar time points in relationship to their position and vice versa. So what that means, if you are having a finishing shoot race sprint off with somebody, you guys finish within 5 seconds of each other, you'll probably get about the same points as each other. So races are weighted differently. The base points are multiplied by the coefficient are as follows. So the easiest way that I have found to think about this is ÖTILLÖ branded races have above a one-time multiplier. They
get a special multiplier just like in Vegas if you get those triple cherries. Oh
yeah, for a blackjack, two queen of hearts, triple cherries. Let's bank on that. So here's the breakdown. If your points that you amass if you race ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Championship, you get a 1.5 multiplier on that. If you race an ÖTILLÖ World Series race, it's 1.25 multiplier on that. In any ÖTILLÖ merit race, which is the majority of the races here in the United States, points, you get just your points.
Right.
So all teams that finish a race get a point. Here's where it kind of becomes a little bit complicated because it is a 24-month rolling period. Your points will devalue 75% after 365 days from getting them, and then after 24 months, they'll disappear completely. So, for example, Chris and I did Catalina in March of 2020. Mm-hmm. That race that we finished, we have points for that, but since it is a year old, those points got a 75% deduction off of them towards our total.
Right, and next March, all the points are gone.
Yes, then we won't be able to count any from Catalina 2020. Mm-hmm. Your 6 best points over the last 24-month period will count towards your ranking. So this means any devalue points might be exchanged for more current points from a race. So if we had done 3 races in 2020 and 4 this year, the some of the merit races we would have done would have rolled off the points there.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it was a lot to kind of go over, but the easy thing is just go to swimrunranking.com, log your races in with your team, register for an account, and ÖTILLÖ keeps track of all the math for you. So if you're looking to do that, I would be doing that very quickly. Since the application to apply is coming up here in the next week or two.
Yep, the application's coming to apply. So a couple things to note if you even want to do the World Championship. So to be able to participate, you have to be in a team consisting of 2 people that are at least 18 years old. And according to ÖTILLÖ website, able to swim, which I think is the understatement of the year.
An understatement.
Each team member needs to have valid insurance for swimrun or sports similar to swimrun. ÖTILLÖ provides this, or Race ID provides this on the application. All applications are final and will not be reimbursed. You can use your insurance to try to get reimbursed if you have a medical issue. You're allowed to change one team member of the same gender if someone has to drop out for some reason. Typically, it's injury. But this can happen after ÖTILLÖ Engadin. Why? I don't know, but that's just what they say. And obviously, you can't transfer these entries, and that's a big no-no. So the fee is a lot.
Yes.
But Chipper, you wanna talk about that?
Yeah, so the race entry fee is 15,900 Swedish krona, which for our US-based listeners, that's about $1,738 per team. Now, if you're like me, you copied 15,900 krona and you put it in Google and you're like, $1,800 for a race? This is crazy. What does all this fee include? Well, let me tell you. Transportation from Stockholm City to pre-race hotel on Sunday. It includes your accommodations at the hotel, dinner on Sunday night, breakfast on Monday morning, transportation to the race start on Monday, the actual race on Monday, transportation of bags to the finish, dinner on Ute, that's on Monday, accommodations at Ute or Monday night, transportation to Stockholm, a nice Tuesday morning breakfast with everyone walking around how sore they are the next morning on Uto. And then
limping around.
Pass the bagels. And then on Tuesday, ferry back to Stockholm. So the fee is high. It is for 2 people, but it does include all the lodging and everything. So it's not even that bad.
It's like going to Swimrun summer camp, right? And just to put it in context, yes, the fee's high, but you know how much it costs to get a slot for Ironman, the World Championship? Costs $1,000, and that's just
to get into the race.
That's just to do the race. You still got to pay airfare, hotel, all that stuff. Obviously, you have to get yourself to Sweden, but I think for what it is, it's expensive, but it's also a big day and requires a lot to put on. I mean, since we've been paying attention, I mean, the race, just from a race director perspective, is just a behemoth. Plus, you do get a lot of stuff. I think the fact you get all these meals, you get the community of it. I mean, I think it's super cool. So for us, we are currently ranked, I think, top 20 teams in the swimrun rank of men's teams.
We're 44 actually right
44
now.
overall.
Yes.
But in our category, we are 18. So essentially, we think we might have an outside shot of getting one of those 78 slots. We'll have to see. And then,
Yeah. And then, so if you're wondering kind of how to get points to do this, obviously racing ÖTILLÖ branded races are going to work. But if you're in the U.S. like Chris and I, there's only one right now, and that is ÖTILLÖ Catalina. So we being U.S.-based swim runners, you have to lean a little bit heavier into the local races and all those merit races here, which ÖTILLÖ has on their site. We also have it on our site with all of our U.S. race calendars, but the ones in the U.S. are Swimrun Lake James, which happens in late April. Casco Bay, the Odyssey race that everybody knows and loves. TBD on that this year in terms of timing. Then Odyssey Orcas Island, and then Swimrun NC at Hanging Rock.
Yeah.
So those are the merit races as of 20.
Right, and because there's so many merit races, I remember Michael Lamel, race director of ÖTILLÖ, mentioning this, that with Catalina and the 4 merit races, you can actually qualify for the World Championship without having to travel to Europe to do a race. Historically, you had to at least make one trip to Europe just to be able to get enough points to kind of have in the bank, with just having merit races in the U.S. So it is possible for teams to qualify. I think It'll be interesting what happens this year with a lot of races getting canceled, but a lot of the merit races taking place in the U.S. So if there's a lot of U.S. teams that qualify, I think we'll do a little bit better than I think the 6 teams that made it this year.
Yeah.
It's a big day. I think in terms of thinking whether you want to try to take on this challenge, I think, yes, you definitely need to be able to swim. You need to wrap your head around the, sort of the majesty,
the totality of it.
of the whole thing. At least for me, I think the fact of being in sort of like the swim run mecca where the sport started, I'm going to have to kind of tone that down in my own mind. But yeah, we have episodes. We had Oscar on, who essentially explained Oscar Olsen,
world champion Oscar Olsen,
essentially
and
did
course record holder,
who did a walkthrough of the entire course, so you kind of get a sense of what it looks like. There's tons of videos out there. Definitely check out ÖTILLÖ's sort of hype movies just to kind of get a sense of what the terrain looks like.
We have another interview with Mel Bartow, who raced over there, Swimrun California team with our good friend Andy Hewitt, and Mel Bartow did that. We have an episode on that, kind of hearing her, her adventure.
Arc Swimrun France. We talked a lot about that race with Hugo and Mathieu. Yeah, but it's a big day, and I think we're definitely putting in for it. We'll see if we get in. I think if it does, that's totally going to change what we're going to do in terms of planning our race season or what constitutes an A race and stuff. But yeah,
second half of the season is a question mark at the moment until February.
Exactly. So I think with that, we encourage anyone to reach out with any questions about this. We'll have all this information on our website so you can sort of read it if hearing it isn't enough. Yeah, hope to see you at the start line, and may the odds always be in your favor.
Thank you for listening to the Low Tide Boys, a swim run podcast. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review on iTunes if you're so inclined.
You can also sign up for a newsletter at lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z. And check out our meme page at The Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, drop us an email at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Writing Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swimrun activities, hobbies, and other bullshit we do.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
And then a run.
And then another swim.
Then another run.
And then another swim.
And then run to the finish line. And just keep going until you're done.
Yes. Or
until
run
you
to
cross the finish line.
Or run to the car.
Or run to your car.
Somewhere. Just keep running.